Good morning, a warm welcome, Sage here for Kalkine TV, reporting to you live from Sydney. And you're watching the Global Markets Roundup. Let's dive into some of the key highlights and happenings from yesterday. Starting with the US market, and oil prices surged on Monday to multi-year peaks, boosting US materials and energy stocks. But fears that rising prices would exacerbate the supply chain snags caused Wall Street to give up early gains. And MSCI's gauge of stocks across the globe gained 0.25%. The benchmark US indices closed lower on Monday, October 11th, dragged down by losses in utilities, healthcare and technology stocks amid the rising global oil prices that renewed inflation concerns. And the S&P 500 was down 0.69%. The Dow Jones fell 0.72% and the Nasdaq Composite fell as well, 0.64%. The small cap Russell 2000 was down 0.56%. Brent oil futures jumped to nearly a three-year high, reaching US $83.62 a barrel, while US crude saw a closing high of $80.50 per barrel for the first time since 2014, sparking fresh inflation concerns. And the US markets have been volatile in recent days. Last week's mixed jobs data and Fed's tapering fears dissuaded the traders from betting on the risky instruments. But besides the inflation and labour and raw material shortages painted a gloomy picture of the pace of the economic recovery. And meanwhile, several big companies like Delta Airlines, JP Morgan and Chase, Bank of America Corporation are all expected to report their quarterly earnings this week. And in the third quarter, some analysts expect around 29% year-over-year growth in profit for the S&P 500 companies, while others predicted weak earnings due to factors like labour and raw materials shortages dogging the economy. And on Monday, the basic materials and consumer staple stocks led gains on the S&P 500's index, but utilities and communication stocks trailed, and 7 of the 11 index segments stayed in the red. Let's move on now to the futures and commodities. Gold futures were down 0.18% and silver decreased by 0.52%, while copper rose 1.48%. And the Brent oil futures increased by 1.49% and WTI crude was up 1.45%. And looking at the bond market, the US bond market was closed today for a federal holiday. And US dollar futures index increased by 0.32 per share. And now it's time for a small break, but stay tuned as I'll be back with the Asian and Australian market updates.
Boarding pass, please. Hi, I'm Holly Shields and I'll be your host for Kalkine TV's new show, Travel Insights. Tune in to get the latest developments in the travel and tourism space, from updates on restrictions to travel guides to info about recreation and outdoor activities, or tour guides to the financials of the sector. Though the travel industry has been hit hard from the pandemic, there is still potential left for a revival on the back of economic upturn and COVID-safe travel measures. So if you want to know where the travel and tourism space is heading, dust off your passports, pack your bags, and watch Travel Insights every Monday exclusively on Kalkine TV.
Welcome back, Sage here. You're watching the Global Markets Roundup show by Kalkine TV. And a strong rally in the mining stocks on Monday boosted an index of European equities, which retraced all losses logged early in the session on worries about inflation and the upcoming earnings season. And the Pan-European Stock 600 index recouped losses of as much as 0.6% on the day to end marginally higher. A heavy presence of commodity-related companies saw London's FTSE 100 outperform with a 0.7% rise. And the London markets traded on a mixed note, with the FTSE 100 pushing higher by the energy and mining stocks. And moreover, the Bank of England's policymaker Michael Saunders had hinted of a sooner than expected interest rate hike to tackle the rising inflation. And the FTSE 100 was up by 0.20%, while FTSE 250 index is down by 0.80%. And the blue chip index was supported by the metals and mining sector, as most of the stocks from the mining segment were trading upward. And the UK Steel, which is an industry body representing the steel companies in the UK, has warned of plant shutdowns due to soaring electricity prices in the country. Higher natural gas costs in the international markets have led to increases in electricity prices and are expected to increase further with the winter season approaching. High electricity prices have wiped out profits for the steel companies, which may force them to shut down production and also impact the steel supply in the UK. Japan's Nikkei share average rose for a third straight session on Monday, extending its recovery from a 6-week low marked last week as a sharp decline in the yen boosted exporters, while a drop in COVID-19 infections added to economic reopening hopes. And the Nikkei closed 1.60% higher, gaining more than 1,000 points from Wednesday's 6-week low, while the broader topics rose 1.77%, marking its second straight winning session. Chinese blue chip companies edged up on Monday as coal firms were lifted by supply fears and real estate shares gained on some cities' planned supportive measures. And the blue chip CSI 300 index rose 0.1%, while the Shanghai Composite Index SSEC ended flat at 3,591.71 points. The Australian share market may fall on Tuesday after the Wall Street peers declined overnight as the global energy crunch clouded investor sentiments before the earnings season. And the ASX 200 fell 0.3% in the previous session on Monday. The Australian and New Zealand dollars rose on Monday on the back of higher commodity prices, while the Aussie was also supported as coronavirus restrictions eased in the country's most populated state, New South Wales. The Aussie dollar rose 0.24% to a new 3-week high of $0.7338 on Friday, as gyms and restaurants in Sydney welcomed back fully vaccinated customers after nearly 4 months of lockdown. And meanwhile, prices of iron ore surged, driven by supply concerns. Dalian iron ore ended 6.5% higher, just below a session high, 799.50 yuan, its loftiest since 1st September 2021. And Bitcoin receded a touch but was still up a solid 4.4%. And thanks for joining us, but that's all for now. Keep watching Kalkine TV for more market updates. Sage signing off for now.